Hello everyone and welcome to Pro Pharma channel. I'm back with NMR part 3. In part 1 and part 2 we have learned with basics and energy transitions and a concept of chemical shift. Now today in part 3 we come and discuss about chemical shift, what exactly is shielding and what is de-shielding. So students, first we know chemical shift is a chemical environmental environment of a nuclei, that is electronic environment of a nuclei. So what exactly is magnetic shielding? If all the protons absorb same energy, then I am not going to get any kind of information from my proton NMR, because there are n number of protons in my drug molecule or an organic compound, and if all are absorbing at the same frequency, I will not get any information. But if a proton is surrounded by the electrons, then I get different kind of information from every proton, because that is in a different environment altogether. And hence the proton, when are surrounded by electrons, are shielded from the external magnetic field. So which means that when a nuclei is surrounded by the circulating electrons, these electrons create an induced magnetic field, a secondary magnetic field that is opposing the external magnetic field. So what does this mean? The proton, this B0 is the external magnetic field which is applied, and a proton experiences this entire external magnetic field, that is nuclei experiences this if at all it is not surrounded by the electrons. But if a proton is surrounded by the electrons, then there is some kind of secondary induced magnetic field created by these electrons around the nuclei, and hence the field felt by the proton, which was this much ideally, is now this much only. So now the field felt by the proton is less or diminished due to the electrons which are shielding them. So I always give an example of rainy season. When I am playing in the rain, I am using a raincoat, and I am using a raincoat plus umbrella. So when I as a nuclei, that is proton, is directly under external magnetic field, then field felt by me that is rains felt by me are highest. But if I am wearing a raincoat, then raincoat is going to shield me from the rains, and the rains felt by me would be less. Similarly, if I use two things, raincoat as well as the umbrella, then the field felt by me, that is proton, due to the electrons, that is a raincoat and umbrella, would be very less. So field felt by the proton is less. So whenever there is a covering, shielding or of electrons around a proton, shielding is observed. So this you can see is that greater the S0, that is the external magnetic field, to bring the protons to resonance, stronger is the induced magnetic field. So when there is more number of electrons, that is I am wearing a raincoat as well as umbrella, then the external magnetic field should be very strong, then only I will get wet. So rain should be very strong and stormy, and then only I will get wet, or else I will not get wet. So because I have an strong shielding, I should apply external magnetic field which is greater in the gauze, so that the proton will resonate or proton will feel the external magnetic field. So shielded protons, you can see here, this is a naked proton with 60 millihertz radio frequency, and this is having 14.02 Gauss as an external magnetic field. The same magnetic field is applied, but there are electrons around it. So effective field, there is a shielding of that proton, and effective field is less than 14 Gauss. And now because I want to resonate this proton, you can see this proton is spinning and absorbing energy. To do that, I have to apply more Gauss, that is I have to go for 14, say 20 Gauss, so that my proton can spin. See, you can see here, due to electrons here, my proton is not able to spin and it is not able to absorb the energy. However, here it can easily absorb energy. Here surrounding electrons are shielding, and hence it is not able to absorb energy. Now if I increase the Gauss, that is 14 to 20 maybe, then the proton will absorb energy even if it is shielded, and it will give me a resonance. So you can see here I have two parameters, radio frequency and B0, that is external magnetic field. So either of it I can keep constant and other can be changed. Usually the radio frequency is constant and external magnetic field is changed depending upon required external magnetic field for a proton to flip. So what exactly is shielding? If the induced magnetic field is opposed, that is if it is opposing the external magnetic field, then the proton is shielded. If the induced magnetic field is reinforced, if at all proton is feeling more and more external magnetic field, then there are no electrons around it, the proton is de-shielded. Very important sentences. When the induced magnetic field is opposed, it is shielded. If the induced magnetic field is reinforced, then the protons are de-shielded. We all know, we have seen this chemical shifting where 0 to 10 delta are my chemical shift value given in ppm, and here lies my TMS, a strong peak, a singlet here. So whenever I have peaks which are near the TMS, they are shielded. So they were upfield, we saw downfield in the last part too, but now we know what is shielding. Those who have electrons surrounding them which have a secondary induced magnetic field which is opposing to that of the external magnetic field, and hence they are absorbed near the TMS, whereas those secondary induced magnetic field which are reinforcing the external magnetic field, those are the protons which are de-shielded and they absorb away from TMS, that is the downfield. So you can see shielding shifts the absorption upfield and at higher magnetic strength is required. De-shielding shifts the absorption downfield and a lower magnetic strength is required. A very important slide to understand what is chemical shift and what is shielding and de-shielding. So thus we have seen this, that is delta is the frequency of the absorbed electromagnetic waves minus the frequency of applied by TMS standard divided by spectrophotometer frequency in millihertz. So now if I have to see a molecule, this is methanol CH3OH. So you can see here I have 4 protons, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if you see these 3 protons are in the same chemical environment. If I see this hydrogen, it is near C, the next to C and O. This is also same, this is also same. So all 3 are in the same chemical environment and they are magnetically equivalent. Whereas this is in the different chemical environment, this will give me a different peak. But if you see this is an electronegative oxygen who is pulling electron towards itself. So the electrons around the hydrogen will be pulled. So this would be de-shielded or less shielded, and I will have the peak of this downfield, that is away from TMS. Whereas all this have electrons near to them, and they are, because oxygen has pulled electron towards itself. So whatever electrons they have, still they have more electron density due to the oxygen nearing them, and hence they are shielded. They will be absorbing upfield near the TMS. So understanding the number of signals, how to calculate them, I have to check who is near, what is neighboring or environment. So each signal corresponding to a set of protons. All magnetically equivalent protons are chemically equivalent, a very important sentence. So we have to first count the number of protons. Here it is 6. This CH3 is near C and O, okay, this H3 is near C and O, which means both the CH3s, that is all the 6 protons, are near CO, which is the same chemical environment. Hence all of them, all the 6 protons will give me one single signal, that is one NMR signal. Now when I see this CH3, CH2, Cl, CH3, all the 3 hydrogen will see C and C. So all the 3 hydrogens here are in the same chemical environment. These 2 hydrogen will see one side C, other side Cl. So which means they are in the different chemical environment. So this will give me one signal, this will give me another signal, 2 NMR signals. Similarly here, even if this is CH3 and this is CH3, they are both in the different chemical environment, and I will see 3 signals for this particular structure. So now I give you 2 things to solve. CH3Br, all the 3 protons in the same environment. So it's a one signal. These all are in the same chemical environment similar to TMS. So all 3, 3, 6, 3, 9, 3, 12 will give me one signal. All hydrogens are ultimately bonded to C double bond C. So all will give me only one signal. What about this? This CH3 directly attached to CH2. This CH3 attached to CH2. This 6 protons will give me one signal. This CH2 another. So I will get 2 signals. What about this? Yes. So this will also give me 2 signals because one proton is a different chemical environment, one signal, and all the 9 protons are in the same, and hence they will give me one signal. These CH2s are in the same chemical environment, one signal, and this will give me another signal. Again, same with this, CH2, CH2, same chemical environment, one signal, CH3, CH3, same chemical environment, another signal. So I hope by now you have understood how to determine the number of signals. When I talk about cycloalkanes, it is important to write the structure correctly and understand the cis and trans positions. So if you see here, this I have 3 signals due to this, this and this. So these are in the same chemical environment, whereas this in the another chemical environment. Here you can see this hydrogen is near to Cl, this hydrogen is away from Cl, this is again similar to Cl. So this and this, all 3 hydrogens will give me 3 different signals. So you can see here one example with the NMR spectra: CH3, CO, C double bond O, CH2, C double bond O, CH3. This CH3 and this CH3 both are in the same different environment. Here this is attached to C double bond O, whereas this is attached to O. So this will give me another signal, this will give me another signal, and CH2 of course one more signal. So you can see 3 signals and they are differently placed as compared to TMS depending upon the shielding and de-shielding. So this is one more example. All 3 are together. So one signal for them, 9 protons, more higher, and CH3, one signal. So it is important to note here is that ion magnetic effect. So S electrons having peripheral, that is symmetry, which is spherical, usually oppose the external magnetic field, and the magnetic field strength felt by the nuclei decreases, and hence usually diamagnetic field effect is nothing but upfield effect, shielding effect. So S electrons, because they are tightly packed spherically around the nuclei, they exert a shielding effect on the nuclei, and upfield shift is seen, and hence diamagnetic effect is also called as an upfield shift. Whereas paramagnetic is due to p electrons and they are dumbbell shaped, they do not have a spherical symmetry, and hence sometimes they are not always shielding the nuclei, but sometimes they de-shield it, and hence they, due to paramagnetic effect, you will see a signal downfield, and hence paramagnetic effect is also called as downfield shift. Very important things: diamagnetic due to S electrons, paramagnetic due to p electrons, sorry for this, diamagnetic due to upfield shift, paramagnetic due to downfield shift. Diamagnetic is due to shielding, paramagnetic is due to de-shielding. A very important slide to remember. So I hope by now you know what is chemical shift, what is shielding, and what is de-shielding. In the next part 4, we will check out the factors affecting chemical shift. Thank you so much. Keep watching Pro Pharma. Thank you.